Hello everyone, I'm Ursula Alfonso. I'm here with my colleague Celestine. We are working for Impact Initiatives. We are an implementing partner of the WAS cluster in Gaza, and we've been working together on the joint WAS assessment. The joint WAS assessment started in August 2024 after 10 months of the beginning of the current war in Gaza, in a context in which widespread displacement, infrastructure damage, and disruptions to essential services have left millions of people dependent on humanitarian assistance. This context, the WAS cluster coordinated a comprehensive joint WAS assessment to better understand where the needs are greatest, as well as the level of access to WAS services and service coverage. Overall, we have conducted so far 4 rounds of this assessment, starting in August 2024 with the latest round conducted in April 2026. In this presentation, I will be presenting key indicators and key findings of the 3rd round in August 2025. Before I go into the key findings, I would like to briefly introduce the methodology. Overall, we use 2 different tools, the household level tool and a key informant tool, and we covered all the population across the Gaza Strip, disaggregated into 4 different population groups according to shelter type. This included people living in makeshift sites, in UNRWA designated shelters, people living in non-UNRWA shelters, and people living in buildings, which at the time of the assessment they were only in Gaza Governorate and Deir al-Balah Governorate. In addition to this, we also covered population in the hard-to-reach areas through the household and the key informant tools. However, because the methodology was different and the sample was not randomized because we could only access certain locations, these findings were analyzed and presented differently. And in this presentation, I will only be focusing on the general overall population, for which the findings are representative. Before, I would also like to thank all the partners that contributed to the 4 rounds of the assessment. We had over 40 WAS cluster partners contributing to more than 500 staff hours in each of the rounds of the joint WAS assessment. Now, I will present the findings for each of the different WAS sectors. Starting from water, we calculated the liters of water per person per day at a household level. And based on these figures, then we were able to calculate the proportion of households below threshold levels of minimum emergency water, separated for drinking and domestic water. The findings show that overall 1 million people had less than 6 liters of drinking water per person per day. In addition, more than 500,000 people had less than 9 liters of water per person per day of domestic water, and overall 1 in every 4 households had less than 15 liters of drinking and domestic water per person per day. These figures were driven by the limited storage capacity, as well as the infrequent and irregular access to water supplies. Findings from the assessment also showed that 72% of the households had less than 2 days of drinking water storage, and 2/3, 66, had less than 2 days of domestic water storage. In terms of access to sanitation facilities, we calculated the classification of access to sanitation facilities based on the JMP sanitation ladder, which categorizes sanitation facilities into 5 different categories, starting from safely managed, then basic, then limited, and improved, and finally open defecation. The findings of this assessment showed that 0% of the household had safely managed sanitation facilities, which are defined as private improved facilities that hygienically separate excreta from human contact and ensure safe disposal and treatment. The reason why it's 0% is because even despite that a few number of households are connected to the sewage system, there are no functioning wastewater management plants. Therefore, even for these households, in the end, the sewage is pumped into the sea. In addition, 4% of the households were practicing open defecation, and despite this figure is already concerning, it's likely underestimating the real extent of this indicator. To try to better understand what was the extent of this practice, we also asked households to report if they had observed open defecation, and 1 in every 5 households, 77, reported observing open defecation, meaning this figure is probably not correctly captured by the JMP classification and is much more widespread than we could capture. Regarding environmental health threats, this was a very widespread concern across all assessed households, with the large majority reporting at least one environmental health issue within 10 meters of their shelter. The most reported issues were rodents or pests, sewage or feces, piles of solid waste, and flooding or stagnant water.
Hello, I am Falastin, and I'm going to proceed with the findings of the key indicators moving forward to hygiene, where 63% of assessed households reported not having soap at shelter, and to a more gendered lens, 66% of women reported not having enough menstrual materials to change as often as they needed during their last menstrual periods. As for main barriers to access hygiene items, almost all households with a percentage of 92% reported high prices as the main barriers to accessing hygiene items, followed by the lack of certain items on the market and the unavailability of most of the items. There were other barriers reported, such as insufficient quality, safety concerns, going to distribution points of the hygiene kits, and going to the markets. As for health and ectropocytes, we have 3 main indicators displayed on the slide, with the highest percentage being 2 households reported skin rashes or scabies. The recall period for these 3 indicators was 1 month prior to the data collection. As we can see on the slide, 57% of assessed households reported skin rashes, 15% reported lice, and 13% reported bedbugs. Close to half of the assessed households reported that at least one member had been sick in the month before the data collection. And among the reported illnesses in the month prior to the data collection, the ones that were reported the most were as a sequence of skin infections, fever, acute watery diarrhea, and lastly cough. Before proceeding with the results over time, it is very important to lay the ground regarding the contextual foundation. It is very important to note that the events that we have recorded on these slides are either relevant to the Gaza Strip level events throughout the past 3 years of war, or most relevant to the Joint Wash Assessment. During the first round of the Joint Wash Assessment, which took place in August 2024, there was a significant polio outbreak that was confirmed, and the start of the assault of North Gaza, which have proceeded until round 2 in January 2025, which also came across in parallel with winter and the short ceasefire that took place. Before the round 3 and during the round 3, which is the most critical time that have took place during the war on Gaza, it started with a full blockade that continued for a long time, the declaration of famine in some of the governorates in the Gaza Strip, and then followed by a new assault on Gaza City, proceeding to result in a ceasefire and modest re-entry of specific goods that has been sustained up until round 4 of April 2026. For results over time, as we can see displayed on the slide, we have the key indicators throughout the 4 rounds of the Joint Wash Assessment. One main pattern that we can observe is how it worsened up until April 2026, even though this round, the most latest round, occurred with a sustained ceasefire and the re-entering of selected goods. However, the needs in Gaza remain dire. We can see an improvement in soap, which can change significantly the experiences of the affected populations in Gaza. And as we can see, there is one indicator that have been kept consistently with no improvements, which is the percentage of households with safely managed sanitation facilities. It does reflect the amount of damage that the wash infrastructure in Gaza has been suffering from. Lastly, we're going to wrap up with the recommendations and limitations. For limitations, we had a technical limitation measuring the liters per person per day, where water consumption estimates included data difficult to record. However, outliers were removed to reduce bias. There was also some limitations in comparing with the results of the round in January 2025 and other limitations in relevance to population. 1 to being underrepresentation to some shelters where densely populated sites may have been underrepresented, and population estimate uncertainty where inaccurate population figures may have affected weighting and representation, and lastly, excluded populations, including people that were outside the accessible zone that we could not assess. As for recommendations, we have 3 main recommendations to pass to WASH partners in the Gaza Strip. The first one would be to foster a repeated household level assessment with an emergency WASH coordination. The second one is to reestablish reliable WASH supply chain. And the last one, we strongly recommend to sustain flexible, localized WASH delivery.